For those watching live, we are an hour into this thing. We've talked about one football game, so might want to gonna try to pick up the pace a little bit here as we get into this one. For this game, there isn't as much to talk about. The Eagles were just too much in this game, and what a contrast that Washington goes 18 plays and they have to do trick plays and fourth downs and all these different things to march their way down and get a field goal, and the Eagles just got to toss it once to Saquon Barkley and it's a touchdown. That basically was this game, is that Washington had to work really hard for everything they got. And every time they got something, it was like, all right, they got it. Here we go. And every time the Eagles got something, it was like, well, yeah, they got it. Of course they did. It was just, everything came easier to the Eagles in this game than it did the Commanders. And honestly, that was a bit of a thing in the first game we talked about, Buffalo against Kansas City. It just felt like everything Buffalo was getting, they had to work really, really hard for. And everything Kansas City was getting, it was just kind of flowing to them. That's what this game looked like. And Hurts, any conversations about his legs being banged up, probably pretty quiet. Again, I wasn't watching this live, so I wasn't following the discourse on social media, but my guy balled out in that game. And it was, again, I picked them to win. I have had some concerns about this team in the build-up to this game. They're quiet right now. That was exactly what they were supposed to look like. That was the exact performance they're supposed to put on. Just a thing of art from the Philadelphia Eagles, putting on the performance of a team that is deserving of going to the Super Bowl. It was a complete effort because the defense played really well as well. That pass rush is fantastic. The pressure that they were able to get on Jaden Daniels, and then you're trusting your secondary in one-on-one situations so often. Part of that is the receivers that Washington has, but the next team that you're facing doesn't exactly have Jerry Rice and Terrell Owens out there either, right? So this was such a perfect, well-rounded performance from the Philadelphia Eagles. And that's something we've been saying all season long, is that this team, on paper, they are able to put out the most well-rounded team in the sport. And they do it so well. And when it's clicking, it is unstoppable because you can do RPO with Hurts. So you have to kind of play back a little bit. Well, if you play back a little bit, Saquon Barkley had the 8th best rushing season in the history of the National Football League and he is a one of one, and he'll make you pay, and he did. But if you overcommit to that, then Hurts can take you to the outside, and he'll kill you. And then, if you really overcommit to it, then you're leaving A.J. Brown one-on-one, and that'll kill you. Okay, well, we have to play back in zone. All right, well, Dallas Goedert has been playing this game for a long time, knows how to find the holes. That'll kill you. And then if we really, okay, well, let's kind of shift over to that. Well, now Devonta Smith, and it is one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. And they can kind of run this thing like it's a computer, like the most basic of computer programs. Well, where it's like, if yes, then this. If no, then this. And it's just like on to the next thing. And it is just, it can be so efficient. And then on the defensive side, they can get great pressure with just 4. Honestly, with just 1, although Jalen Carter was a little bit more quiet in this game, but they can get pressure with 4. And then they have really good linebackers in the second level that swarm to the ball and are able to punch them out or are able to back off into coverage and really cause some problems. And then if you can get beyond that, there's 2 fantastic corners on this team and then a real hard-hitting safety at the back end of that. Like it is such a masterfully constructed football team. And it's a joy to watch when it is working. And that's why I get so frustrated with this team sometimes, because it did look a little bit clunky for a lot of this season. And you're wondering, like, why isn't this working? And then you see it work and you can see what it can do. It can put up 55 points while only giving up 23. Like, they can clear the point total for the game on their own when this offense is really working. And boy, have they picked a good time to get this thing really working. So it's going to be a very interesting comparison to see what is coming up here in the next little bit for the Philadelphia Eagles. They have 2 weeks to prepare for the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, a ton of Super Bowl coverage coming up here over the next couple of weeks as we lead up to, as some places have to call it, the big game in a couple of weeks' time down there in New Orleans. But I do want to mention the team that comes up a little bit short in this game, the Washington Commanders. They have nothing to be ashamed about. And honestly, if you are looking at this, the future is so bright for this team. Jaden Daniels is legit. And again, this loss, not on him. The Commanders didn't lose this game. Philadelphia won this game. And they came out and made some very big plays. Zach Ertz had a real nice kind of, hey, just a reminder, I'm still I'm still a dude game in this. And Daniel still made some really strong plays and was able to maximize a few different things in this game. And like Terry McLaurin took a step forward this year. Tammy Brown took a step forward this year and got this offense going. There are obvious holes on this team, and I think that they showed that that is the case, but they're obviously on the right path right now out in Washington. And so a phenomenal season comes to a close out there. The one thing you have to caution is we were saying all these things almost, I would say, 358 days ago with the Houston Texans. Yeah, you know what? Didn't get Kansas City, but man, the future's bright. And then this year, it was a bit of a step back. Now they get to the divisional round still, but this year was a step back for Houston. You have to understand that teams are going to be a little bit more aware of what Jayden Daniels can do and what he can't do. Now, that list is very small, but they're going to try to exploit it for all it is worth. And so now there needs to be improvements on the Washington side of things. They need to get more talented people on defense. Although Luvu had a hell of a football game, and he played great. But there's just, Lattimore at this point cannot be the guy locking up on number ones, right? Like he's not that guy. And they don't have that guy. And it was very obvious they didn't have that guy in this game. And the offensive line needs some work. Jayden Daniels is very good at escaping. He shouldn't have to prove that 25 times a game. So they need to get that figured out. Again, we'll do the offseason preview and game plan here for Washington in a little bit, coming up tomorrow. But for now, I just want to say this team is definitely going in the right direction. And I don't think I've been able to say that about Washington in my entire football watching life. And I have to give Dan Quinn his props. I was skeptical of the hire. I thought bringing in a defensive-minded coach for a team that didn't have any defenders, that just drafted a number 2 overall pick, the quarterback of the future, with some question marks around him at the time because of health and reckless play and all of those things. You're bringing in a defensive-minded coach. Oh, and we're Kingsbury. Hey, Kyle Kingsbury. Yeah, that worked well. That went well. The last time, like, things went perfectly in Arizona. No problem. 10 out of 10. No notes. That's what you're bringing in. But Kingsbury, I think, has had a fantastic redemption arc here. And he is probably in his last year as an offensive coordinator before he gets hired as a coach to get fired in 2 years. But Dan Quinn, the aggressive style that he had in just recognizing, like, yeah, man, we are at a significant talent deficiency kind of against everybody. So let's just, but we got one guy. So let's have that one guy be our strength and try to just win these moments in games that decide them. And most of the year it worked. And then this one, they didn't have the horses to match up with them. But I have to, apology, I think might be a bit of a stretch. I don't think Dan Quinn was up late at night because I was on here shit talking him, but he moved up a number of different notches in my book this year. Just a phenomenal coaching performance from Dan Quinn all season long. We have had a couple other coaching hires in the NFL. I'm going to react to them tomorrow. We're going to look at Pete Carroll coming to my Raiders. Brian Schottenheimer is the new coach with the Dallas Cowboys, as we all expected. So going to be reacting to those tomorrow. I just thought today, these games kind of deserved their own platform.